Happy World Oceans Day. My name is Celine Saman, and I am the co founder, executive director of The Slow Factory, a non for profit working at the intersection of climate justice and human rights, based in New York but working globally. This segment is titled Faces of the Sea and will feature stories of individuals whose lives are deeply and visibly interconnected with the ocean across in many different ways, from small scale fishers to world class surfers, and from rescue workers to youth activists. The focus of this segment is to highlight the personal stories and relationships with the ocean of people from around the world from very different walks of life. Our first speaker is Dr. Iski Britton. Iski is both a professional surfer and a marine social scientist, exploring human relationships with the ocean. She will share a story about the many ways we can find healing through the ocean, sharing a female perspective in particular.
So hello from the west coast of Ireland and happy World Ocean Day. I'm Dr. Iski Britton, a surfer, writer, and marine social scientist. I've pioneered women's big wave surfing in Ireland and Europe and introduced the sport of surfing with women in Iran. I'm author of 50 Things to Do by the Sea and Saltwater in the Blood, and a marine social scientist. I currently work as a blue health researcher with the Inclusive Project, which fosters and promotes greater inclusion and accessibility for people with physical disabilities in surfing in Europe. And I'm an ambassador for WSL, the World Surfing League's We Are One Ocean campaign, part of a global call to protect 30% of our global oceans by 2030. So my ocean connection began with my name. I was named by the sea. My parents named me after a surf break on the west coast of Ireland, where an important salmon river flows into the sea. And Iski has its origins in Gaelic for fish. And salmon is known as Bradon Fasa, the salmon of wisdom or salmon of knowledge. So there was once a time when we understood and appreciated the wisdom of other species. And my name is a reminder that my identity and who I am is tied to the identity and health of the salmon, the river, and the sea. We've all been shaped and formed by ocean. And my work as a marine social scientist explores the ocean's power to heal. There is strong evidence now to support that access and experiences of healthy coastal spaces can help restore our physical health and mental well-being. So ocean health is intricately linked to human health. And at this time when there's great need for healing and restoration, there are no quick fixes and many different ways to heal, but I do believe there's incredible healing potential in our connection to water. But just as we're realizing this potential of the water and oceans to heal and restore us, ocean health is rapidly declining. How can there be wild swimming when there are no more wild places left? How can surf and ocean therapy heal in polluted bathing waters? We can't be well in a sick sea. So as a surfer, I've been immersed in the ocean my whole life, and increasingly it's become my place of encounter, where I really get to encounter all of who I am. It returns me back to myself, calms and restores me, and that never ceases to amaze me. And this is a really powerful thing, especially for women. For women, there's often a lot of body shame and fear around expressing all of who we are, especially how we feel with and in our bodies. So going into the water, being immersed, entering and inhabiting our bodies fully is about being able to cross a threshold into a whole other world, one that's free of judgment, one where we feel held, where it's possible to release our emotions. So it's little wonder that the ocean and the sea are among the most psychologically restorative environments for humans. And one of the most powerful things anyone has shared with me was when I asked a woman in Iran, a student of sports science and surfing mother to a rising young surf star there. I asked her what the sea means to her, and she replied, "The sea is without judgment. It may be vicious, it may be calm, but but it's always honest about how it is. So the ocean gives us permission to feel and be all of who we are. If we heal the ocean, we heal ourselves. And the work we must do to restore the ocean as an inclusive, healthy, and healing space for all, human and non-human species, is going to need all of us. Guramila Magat agus Gonairi Natantalat.
The next contribution is adapted from the documentary Racing the King Tide, highlighting the challenges island communities in the province of Bohol, Philippines faced after a 7.2 magnitude earthquake sunk their island. The video may offer us a window to the future as a global sea levels continue to rise. Here we will follow 3 stories of island residents as they share their perspectives.
Ganahan medyo ko diri sa kuan isla kay linaw man among way gubot bitaw makakaunday may og kan mga labas nga isda niya unaad mi kanang makuha kinason mahalin na yun makapalit na yung bugas ana pero nay mga managat kasapi makakwarta na yun makapalit na yung among mga pares managat niya amo sansog ini uli mag-on mi ngaon tapos butog na po ari mi magpakamatay ganahan mi dire.
Daghan kayo mga problema nga among ma-encounter bitaw kada taob jud. Kung magtudlo man gud mi unya taob, ang attention sa mga bata wala nagyud na anagid sa dagat. Ang mga bata physically kanang present but mentally absent kay they are looking at you, magtan-aw sila nimo pero ang ilang mga tiil magana magkasaw-kasaw nya aside niya na sad kaning hugaw. Kira unta kung isda bitaw ang muso dinhi sa kanang classroom but ang nakapait manggod kung ang musod, manure na, hugaw na sa tao. It's no longer safe to live in an island like this, especially during high tides. Then, mas worst pa jud kung high tides plus kanang typhoon, mao ginay pinakapeligro. Gi-envision ako nga unta na ay lain galing organization nga mutabang gali namo mo suporta nga bisa na lang og ma-elevate ning amo ang classroom kay para panahon sa taob dili na kaayo may mapektuhan.
Gitukod ng MPA para sa gikaingon nga sa mga katigulangan mura daw kuno bangko ba para naikuanan sa kapunduhan sa isda para sa dang corals nga kuan kog ayo ba ang corals. So sa santuaryo okay ang iyang gasang pero dire na sa fishing ground nga area nay mo hakot ba og bato. Hakot sig bato nya buno nga na ba. Ni gisamutan pa yun pag human og linog kay pag humag linog nisamot man kausos ang isla di hakot na sa bato para naikakaya mo na mo na nga ang fishing ground nga kuan din na kadyo siya kuan ang iyang gasang nya ang isda hinay mo similya munihit gyud siya. Katong uban nga murag na paikakaya din alang siguro kanang makuha pagbato mugtukod sila balay nga na gyud ba way bato nga gihakot maor magyapon ng baya mapuy-an magyapon na.
This next contribution was facilitated by Human Rights at Sea, a registered charity with the mission to end human rights abuse at sea. We will hear from Max, who started his career as a seafarer at 18 and is now a rescue manager with SOS Méditerranée, a maritime and humanitarian organization for the rescue of life at sea. Max will share stories from some of the people they have aided, who are often fleeing enforced migration.
Hello, my name is Max, and I'm here to talk to you a bit about my experiences as a search and rescue operator in the central Mediterranean, and also looking a bit wider than that at how this microcosm might have implications elsewhere. So a bit about me. I started in search and rescue when I was 18 with the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, which is a voluntary service covering the search and rescue needs of most of the UK. Was there for about 2 years, and a short while later became aware of a situation in Lesbos, a small Greek island near the Turkish border, where thousands and thousands and thousands of refugees, primarily from Syrian conflict, were making the crossing. And I went there, started as a crew, and became shortly after the leader of that boat, and also of the operational components of that organization, as far as actually being able to deploy a rescue boat at sea in that area. Following that, I moved to the central Mediterranean, where I worked with SOS Méditerranée for 2.5 years at sea. And my role there was its search and rescue team leader. So managing the rescue on scene from the front of a fast rescue boat, managing between 2 and 3 other rescue boats, trying to bring these people from a place of danger to the place of safety on board our ship. During that time, the teams and managed to rescue, so while I was on board, about between 7,000 and 10,000 people, depending on how you take that number. We witnessed multiple mass casualty events. We saw, a lot of very challenging situations, which in many ways, having grown up near the sea and spent a lot of my life in it, it changed a lot of the way I viewed it, from a place that is safe and enjoyable to quite a horrible environment at times. I guess the point I want to talk about a little bit here is, this duty to render assistance, which is legally mandated, and why maintaining a really clear and pure perspective of what that means is essential to preserving human life at sea. And I can talk about it in my context, but actually the reason the law came about in the very first place was because anytime you mix duty to render assistance with any other priority, your ability to achieve that primary goal of ensuring humans survive shipwreck is compromised. And that's the reason the law actually came into place in the beginning. Let me talk a bit about a shipwreck so you understand how this can conflict with other objectives. I mean, I've been alongside sinking boats with hundreds of people in them, waiting to be able to give them assistance for green light for authorities over that area. So a permission to intervene. These are people knee deep in water, 120 people, all walks of life, young guys, old women, grandparents, children, knee deep in water. I always talk about the same stories because it happens so frequently, but basically fuel is lighter than water. The fuel tips, spills, mixes with the water inside the boat. You get this really corrosive mix, which gets everyone hallucinating, and also peels your skin off. So it's really, really painful as well. And you're there, trying to enact your duty to render assistance, being blocked. And I would say, from a moral point of view, it's a super challenging experience, because you're, really witnessing hell open up in some ways. And, your training and your experiences up until that point have really defined what the correct course of action is in that context. And then, it's a paradigm shift to be able to work through that experience and have these conversations, because you're this close to these people who are burning and who are, hallucinating, completely delirious with oxygen intoxication, not oxygen, fuel. I mean, it's a very traumatic experience. And I guess for me, that's just one example. I've had to beg for humans' lives while my team holding their hand, to get them out of the water from armed people, and I'm saying literally to them, you've saved, or you have 100 people in your possession. Can we just take this one person out of the water? Another way where we were unable to render this vital assistance was being asked to leave areas where active searches were underway to find boats in distress, boats that were trying to cross. And I guess, why is this important? My point is, the second you prioritize border control, or any other priority, it can be financial or otherwise, over the sanctity of human life, your ability to execute and enact the need to render this assistance is often severely compromised. And the outcome of that is death. And I unfortunately have seen a lot of that as well. I guess what's the takeaway message from my experiences in my time at sea is primarily just that these concepts, as they seem on shore and far away from the situation, are deathly real when you're there at sea. And I hope to be able to bring you some clarity as to why this law is so important, and why it's not just something we can discuss casually in our armchairs at home, and presuming alternatives. There are people burning with their skin peeling off, drowning in water out there, and thousands of them, right? It's been over 10,000 people over the past few years, if my maths are right, as far as people passing away on these crossings. And with the current global context and trends, it seems likely that this will continue elsewhere, and on a global scale. And not always because border controls the conflicting co-priority. It's essential that we take this seriously. It's essential that we do not mix it with other priorities, and that human life is regarded as more important than anything else.
We will hear now from Mantura Shaikh, a fish processor and trader from Malindi in the coast of Kenya in East Africa. Mantura is the founder of Malindi Women in Fisheries Entrepreneurship, a women collective of fish processors and traders in her community. This collective is part of African Women Fish Processors and Traders Network, which helped facilitate this contribution. Mantura will share her successes as well as some of her challenges facing women working in the fisheries sector.
My names are Mantura Yusuf Abdurazak, aged 42, married with 5 kids, and one is coming. I was raised from a family whereby we 100% depend on fish production and farming. When I say so, I mean that when I say so, I mean that when I was a kid, I can remember my both grandfathers, from my mother's side and my father's side, both of them were fishermen. My father also is a fisherman. I married a husband who is also a fisherman. So I can say 100% I depend on fish production and trade. I am a fish trader. I work in hand with my husband. My first success that I had, I started selling fish via mobile phone. I didn't have a show. I didn't own anything. So customers, we want to fish. Yes, I want. How many? I have 1.5 kilogram. Then I send it to where that person is. I started selling fish in 2005 when I finished my studies. By the way, I'm an IT graduate student, but here in Kenya, getting a job is very difficult. So I decided to join my husband and my father. So I started selling fish. Thank God my work is going good about fishing. Selling fish through mobile communication, searching for customers and making home deliveries. And now I shop whereby customers make calls and come to buy fish. That is the first success that I had. My second success I had also, I formed a group of women. When I came from my studies in up countries, I went to Nairobi to do IT. when I came back in my place, a lot of women doing fish farming and others are selling fish, but everyone is doing it on its own. So I came up with an idea: why can't we form a group of women so that we can share our ideas and successes, our challenges, so that we improve the production of selling fish and know-how of how to handle the fish. Being a mother and a class working woman, sometimes you can get sometimes I get a call from customers. They want to buy fish from my shop. As I told you, my fish are very fresh. Once my husband gets in the seashore, he calls me. Either I goes myself or I send somebody to pick it with motorcycle. So somebody will call. I heard that my husband has arrived. They want fresh fish. Sometimes it can be difficult for me. I have to finish my family issues calls. Then I go to the shop. I sell the fresh fish. All these there are challenges that we face as women and mothers. But when this COVID came and lockdown, things get more worst. My husband will go fishing in the morning. Here in our country, the lockdown, some activities were not locked down. Like fishing, people were allowed to go fishing in the morning. From around 6 in the morning up to 6 in the evening, you were allowed to go for fishing. But some other activities, people were asked not to do it. So my husband will call me. Maybe let's say he goes for fishing in the morning from 6 and he comes back at 6. I don't have time to sell the fish. I have to keep the fish for tomorrow. So somebody will say, this fish is not fresh, Mantura, it's for yesterday. You have to talk to the customer and explain. You see, we got a lot of challenges during the lockdown and during the issue of COVID-19. Another challenge that we faced here in our community, that is very big challenge, and most of us women face it, is about changing fish for sex. That is something that is growing and is growing and is growing. Thank God with me, I only get few challenges because I have a husband who supports me with the fish. But sometimes when he doesn't go, I have to go to the seashore to look for fish. So somebody will tell you, I'll give you a fish, but will you mind to give you free fish? Once you get that such words or such conversation, just get to know that somebody is up for sex. Oh, I thank God with me. Most of the men, when they ask me for such things, I don't accept. Thank you everyone who have supported me and who have brought me in this group. Thank you very much and stay blessed.
The next contribution is adapted from the documentary Lessons from Jeju. This story celebrates motherhood and the resilience of the freediving and fishing women in South Korea.
As much as I've always wanted to be a mother, I ended up putting it all off. In my 20s, I fell in love with spearfishing and freediving. By 28, I was a national champion of spearfishing, and by my 30s, I was making a living as a freediver and spearfisher. But most of my friends who I travel with and dive with were all men. One by one, they became fathers, and most of them continued diving. I was afraid that I would be trading in my relationship to the ocean once I became a mom, whether it was in my career or making a living off of being underwater, really. Coming to meet the Henyo now, which is something I've always dreamt about doing. You know, I want to celebrate these fellow water women, but I also just want to celebrate their definition of what it is to be a mom. These women, they're known to have gone diving throughout their whole 9 months of pregnancy, going into labor right in the water, having babies on the boat, and continued diving throughout being a mom. They kind of became these symbols of strength and resilience and providers. Them are elders and grandmas, and they're still getting underwater every single day. That's just regular life to them. That's just what you do. You keep diving, you be a mom, you support your fellow sisters. Just that alone, that's a lot to look up to.
도와주고 외할머니도 도와주고.
우리 옛날엔 애 낳고 일주일밖에 몸조리 안 했어요.
남으죠. 엄마 이 엄마가 내가 없으면 이 엄마가 먹여줘 우리 애기를. 같은 길이. 돈이 최고예요. 자기한테 기대지 않고 오히려 보탬이 되니까.
When I see the Henyo, what I just see is the strength of my own mom. So many of the elders that came before us, the sacrifices that they would make to provide. I see a sisterhood of support and love. I see a vision of what real beauty means to me. That is something that I would like to see in myself. I just see the woman that I want to be.
We will now hear a musical interlude from the Longest Johns, a British folk musical group from Bristol, England. Take it away, boys.
Hi, we're the Longest Johns, and it is a privilege to be invited here by the United Nations and Oceanic Global.
As a sea shanty band, we have a strong connection to maritime history and the oceans. We'd like to be part of the solution to clearing up after ourselves and ensuring they aren't ruined for future generations.
As much as possible, we try to use recycled materials and ecologically friendly packaging in all of our releases and merch, as well as making sure we don't use any single-use plastic bottles in our gigs and touring.
Hopefully, through raising awareness and more events such as this, it's going to inspire future generations to do their part as well, and maybe even inspire a few more great maritime songs down the line as well.
This is one of our original songs about sailing round the Cape. Well, we're going round the Cape, golden shores to find, 900 miles of wind and waves smashing up the sides. We're going round the Cape, there is no other way.
For trade and countrymen,
we'll brave the foam and spray. So tell my love that I'll be back someday. It's rock and roller, rock and roller, rock and roll away. When I return, I swear I'm gonna stay. So rock and roller, rock and roller, rock and roll away. left my home and land to sail a clipper ship into the parts of my own map that barely have been writ. I must be out of my mind to leave England in my wake, but I'll get that silver in my ear, we're going round the Cape. So tell my love that I'll be back someday. It's rock and roller, rock and roller, rock and roll away. When I return, I swear I'm gonna stay. So rock and roller, rock and roller, rock and roll away. It's a long way home, but many miles to go. There's a gale that's trying to drag us all below, and I'm loath to dream of any better fate than what awaits the brave around the Cape. I heard the sailors say, by God, you must be mad.
He's mad.
There's waves as tall as houses and the gales will knock you flat. And when the storm has fled and the fog is thick as mud, it's pray for your deliverance and pray you rightly should. So tell my love that I'll be back someday. It's rock and roller, rock and roller, rock and roll away. When I return, I swear I'm gonna stay. So rock and roller, rock and roller, rock and roll away. So tell my love that I'll be back someday. It's rock and roller, rock and roller, rock and roll away. When I return, I swear I'm gonna stay. So rock and roller, rock and roller, rock and roll away. Rock and roller, rock and roll away.
This next contribution is adapted from the documentary Dive Tierra Bomba. This story follows the passion of a young diver determined to rally and defend her community on a small island off the coast of Colombia.
Como yo vivo cerca del mar, todo me llamaba la atención. Cuando buceo, me siento tranquila. Es una tranquilidad de que no la vas a tener en ninguna parte. ¿Has visto el arrecife? ¿Cómo lo valoras antes de verlo? La supervivencia del pueblo depende de la supervivencia del arrecife. En Boca Chica, hay gente que sabe la importancia del coral y hay otras que no. Soy la única mujer que he podido ver el arrecife. La mayoría nunca han tenido la oportunidad de conocerlo. Los buques que pasan cada día son una amenaza real. Envenenan el océano y dañan el arrecife. Hola.
¿Cómo estás?
Bien.
¿Dónde vas?
A bucear en el Blue Apple. Yo tengo un sueño que es llevar a la comunidad a ver el arrecife. Pues este es el chaleco donde vamos a mantener la estabilidad. Tenemos el oxígeno. Al enseñar a otros jóvenes a bucear, espero poder cambiar el pensamiento de ellos y que ellos también se interesen en proteger el arrecife. ¿Cómo voy a hacer para que la gente se concientice? ¿Cómo puedo continuar llevando a bucear a la gente al arrecife? ¿Cómo puedo hacer un mundo mejor para mí?
Esos barcos, todas esas compañías tienen todo bloqueado. Bioquímico. Esto, nosotros mismos nos van a botar esas empresas de aquí. Tiene que ir a mar abierto a buscar de comer a los hijos.
¿Sabes por qué ya por aquí no podemos pescar? Porque estamos quedando sin arrecife y el arrecife es la casa de los peces. Claro. Si no hay arrecice, no hay peces. Y si no hay peces, tenemos que aventurar.
Muerto y me duele de cogerlo. Porque eso le hace falta a nuestro futuro.
El coral aquí es la vida. Yo necesito como más gente que esté como emocionada, que quiera bucear, o sea.
¿Te gustaría montar tu propia escuela de buceo?
Eso, o sea, son mis sueños.
Me va a servir, yo quiero emplearlo en mi propia isla por la inseguridad tan grande que hay. Y el simple hecho del medio ambiente, porque sabes que eso aquí está bien abandonado.
Imagínate, si esa barrera de coral nosotros la cuidamos y todo el mundo va a venir a bucear porque está linda y el turismo va a querer venir a bucear. Eso realmente cambiará nuestra isla, nos unirá como comunidad.
We will now travel to where the Godavari River meets the Bay of Bengal in India. We will hear from Deepika Tadi, who alongside her husband has stepped up to take action against the rising tide of plastic pollution in their community through proper waste management by joining the team at the Green Worms facility in the region. Green Worms empowers dignified and safe job opportunities in waste collection and management throughout the south of India. This piece was recorded from the field in India during severe lockdowns.
నమస్తే, నా పేరు దీపిక, నా వయసు 40 సంవత్సరాలు. నేను అంతర్వేది జీరో వేస్ట్ ప్రాజెక్టులో పనిచేయుచున్నాను. నాకు 2 పిల్లలు, నా భర్త కూడా ఇందులో పనిచేయుచున్నారు. మా అంతర్వేది గ్రామం సముద్ర తీర గ్రామం. ఒకప్పుడు మా గ్రామ పరిసరాలు చాలా అందంగా ఆహ్లాదకరంగా ఉండేవి. సముద్రము, గోదావరి నది కలిసే ప్రాంతాన్ని అన్నా చెల్లెలు గట్టు అని పిలుస్తాము. ఇది మా గ్రామాన్ని ఆనుకుని ఉంది. ఇక్కడ మత్స్యకారులు ఎక్కువగా నివసిస్తుంటారు. ఇక్కడ గోదావరి నది మాకు జీవనది. ఇక్కడ వేట మత్స్యకారులకు జీవనాధారం. దక్షిణ భారతదేశంలో ప్రసిద్ధి చెందిన శ్రీ లక్ష్మీ నరసింహస్వామి ఆలయం ఇక్కడ ఉంది. దేశం నలుమూలల నుండి యాత్రికులు ఇక్కడికి వస్తూ ఉంటారు. ఫిషింగ్ హార్బర్ కూడా ఉంది. మత్స్యకారులు చాలా దూర ప్రాంతం నుండి వేటకి ఇక్కడికి వస్తూ ఉంటారు. ప్రస్తుతం అయితే మా ప్రాంతం ప్లాస్టిక్తో నిండిపోయింది. సముద్రము, గోదావరి ప్లాస్టిక్తో కలుషితం అయిపోతుంది. ప్లాస్టిక్ వ్యర్థాల వల్ల మత్స్య సంపద నశించిపోతుంది. సముద్రము, గోదావరి ప్లాస్టిక్ వ్యర్థాల వల్ల వాటి అందాలు కోల్పోయాయి. మా గ్రామానికి అంతర్వేది జీరో వేస్ట్ ప్రాజెక్ట్ రావడం విని ఎంతో సంతోషించాను. గ్రీన్ వామ్స్, ప్లాస్టిక్ ఓషియన్స్, ఎస్విఎమ్స్ మా గ్రామ పంచాయతీ వారు కలిపి అంతర్వేది జీరో వేస్ట్ ప్రాజెక్టును ప్రారంభించారు. నేను నా భర్త కలిసి ప్లాస్టిక్ వ్యర్థాలను సేకరించే పని చేస్తున్నాం. మా గ్రామం పరిశుభ్రంగా అందంగా ఉండటం వల్ల మాకెంతో సంతోషంగా ఉంది. నేను ఇలా చేయటం వల్ల మా గ్రామ ప్రజలు నన్ను చాలా గౌరవిస్తున్నారు. నేను ఇలా చేయటానికి మా గ్రామస్తులు, అధికారులు మాకెంతో సహకరిస్తున్నారు. ఇలా చేయటం వల్ల గ్రామస్తుల్లో చాలా చైతన్యం వచ్చింది. మేము ఇలా చేయటం వల్ల ప్లాస్టిక్ని ఎవరు బహిరంగ ప్రదేశాల్లో పడవేయట్లేదు, ప్లాస్టిక్ని అంటించట్లేదు, బహిరంగ ప్రదేశాలలో ప్లాస్టిక్ వ్యర్థాలను కాల్చటలేదు. ఇలా చేయటం వల్ల నీటి కాలుష్యం, గాలి కాలుష్యం లేకుండా మంచి వాతావరణం నెలకొంది. ఇప్పుడు మా చుట్టుపక్కల ఉన్న గ్రామస్తులు మా గ్రామం వైపు చూస్తున్నారు. మేము గృహాల వద్ద నుండి, బీచ్ల దగ్గర నుండి, పబ్లిక్ ప్రదేశాల నుండి, షాపుల దగ్గర నుండి ప్లాస్టిక్ వ్యర్థాలను సేకరిస్తున్నాము.
In this next segment, we will be sharing stories from the fishing community in Bantar Bela in the Puntland state of Somalia. The videos were recorded with the help of non-governmental organization Secure Fisheries and translated and produced with the help of the United Nations Assistance Mission in Somalia, UNSAM. UNSAM's Maritime Security Officer and Gender Focal Point Fartoum Ibrahim will introduce us to the community.
Happy UN Oceans Day. My name is Fartoum from Mogadishu, Somalia. Today I want to talk about Somalia fishery sector and fishery communities. Somalia water are homes to some of the richest fishing grounds in Africa, with the first potential for fisheries and coastal area development. Fishery sector in the country offers enormous investment opportunity and capacity building to generate income, as well as enhancing food security for the coastal community. Banderbele community have been depending on ocean resources, especially the fishing sector. Known for it for decades, fishing is the main resource for their livelihood in Banderbele. Under the auspices of supporting the community for sharing stories, inspiring stories about their livelihood. For this day, UN World Oceans Day, Secure Fisheries helped filming this message for all of us.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. أولاً إلهي باب محله مقعيق محمود محمد حسن شيشا waxaan ku noolahay degmada Bandarbayla Soomaaliya waxaan ahay dadka ku dhaqan degmada Bandarbayla ilaa ka awow waxa weeye professionkeyga iyo nidaamkeyga shaqana waa badda awoowayaashay aabahay ilaa duriyaddeedii hore oo dhan ilaa aniga waxaan ku xeelanahay oo professionkeyga iyo shaqadaygu tahay waa badda wixii aanu kala soo baxno ayaa xoolanoo ah yada baanu ku dhaqannahay yada baanu ku noolahay yada baanu wixii aanu kala soo baxno dadkayga wax ka barnaa annagu ka cunnaa noloshayaga iyo xaaladii oo dhan ku jidhaa aad baan ugu faraxsannahayna nolosha aanu ku jirno.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Aniga magacaygu waa Buuxa Maxamed Saleebaan. Waxaan deganahay degmada Bandarbayla. Aabahay waa ku dhashay, hooyaday waa ku dhalatay, anigii baa hadda ku dhashay ilmo ku sii dhalay. Alxamdulillah waxaanu ka shaqeynaa badda. Odaygu wuxuu naga shaqeeyaa badda, wiilashu way ka shaqeeyaaneen.
aniga waxaa la yiraahdaa Khaliif Maxamed Maxamed Sabantar waxaan ku dhashay magaalada Bandarbayla la yiraahdaa Soomaaliya. waxaan ka shaqeyn jiray badda waxaan ka shaqeyn jiray aabahay anaa ka shaqeyn jiray walaalay baa ka shaqeyn jiray.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Magacaygu waa Ciise Cumar Maxamuud waxaan ahay gudoomiye ku-xigeenka iskaashatada kalluumaysiga ee Caynab Bandarbayla Soomaaliya. haddii aan warbixin yar oo kooban idinka siiyo hab nololeedkayga haddaanu nahay kalluumaysatada bayla waxa way aad baan u wanaagsannahay wax dhibaato ah yani ma jiraan oo yaniga kalluun la'aan aan borobrayn la haystaa ma jiro waxa way aad baan u wanaagsannahay deegaankaygu aad buu wanaagsan yahay waxa weeye dadkuna waxay ku nool yihiin oo ku tirsan yihiin kalluumaysiga waxay kala soo baxaan baddaas bay iib geystaan ka macayshaan ku noolaadaan cunaan aad iyo aad bayna ugu mahadiyaan dadku ugu fiican yihiin walow kaana ay jiraan caqabado yaryar oo iska jira.
Despite the opportunities the fishery sector offers to the community in Banderbele, they also have experienced many challenges from illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing operation going on along their coastline, competitioning their fishing at the sea, and also causing overfishing at the sea The community in Banderbele are worried for their future fishing and how they will survive with the little fish they capture.
midda kaleetoo taalla waxay tahay badda waxaa ku jira maraakiib sharci darra ah doonyo sharci darra ah oo badda inaga baabi'iyey oo dhibaato ku haya oo bee'aaddii iyo halkii aan u shaqo tegaynay oo aan wax kala soo baxaynay subaxii markaanu shaqo tagno hal maylana oo aan gaarin doonyihii baa taagan waxa weeye kuwo sifo sharci darraa ku jooga ayayna u badan yihiin dhulkii ay ku jireen arakoostada iyo kalluunka iyo bee'aaddii weliba duurjoogtahayd ayay eber ka dhigeen oo baabi'iyeen awooduma aanu lihin aanu isaga dhicinno awoodda ilaahay baa iska leh waxaanu middaas aanu la kaashanaa hay-adaha caalamiga ah iyo dowladda federaalka iyo isteedka aanu ka tirsannahay ee puntland
baddii waagi horeeto waxay ahayd bad fiican oo kalluunkeedu aad iyo aad u badan yahay hadda waxaana soo dhexgalay dad yoo shisheeya baa badda yimi xaaluf baa ku dhacay macnaha wax soo saarkeedii hadda iyo horay hadeeruu yar yahay
waayo waagaasan cada maanta taal waagaas ma ioleen waxaanu ku shaqayn jirnay bedemo matooro ma jirin waxaa laga qabsaday magaaladii oo ilaa iyo weli ku jira waa maraakiib shisheeye waa doonyo carbeed waxaasaa magaaladii qabsaday hadday kalluun noqoto hadday libax noqoto hadday aragoosto noqoto nimankaasaa la wareegay
aniga iyadu waa mahadin aad iyo aad waxaanu jeclaan lahayn inay ka sii fiicnaato oo inay soo gaarsiiso barnaamijyo ka fiican talaagada waaweyn iyo transportation aan u helo kalluunka wuxuu ku dhacaa badanaaba inuu hayso oo xumaado oo xeebta looga tago markaan u weyno waxaan ku qaban jirno run ahaantii waxa weeye iyaduna waa nasiib daro weyn weeye mar haddaad u weydo waxaad aniga soo tacabtay waxaad ku guddo waxaanu jeclaan lahayn in laga taageero xagga qabowga iyo iibgeynta iyo tababarada iyo nooc walba inaanu helo maadaama nahay dad aad iyo aad ugu xiran baddooda una diyaarsan inay mar walba ka shaqaystaan oo ka macaashaan.
We will now turn to a powerful voice from the next generation. Catarina Lorenzo is a surfer and ocean advocate who grew up on the ocean in Brazil. She offers us a reminder to listen and learn from the ocean and to take action for a sustainable future.
Hi everyone, I'm Catarina Lorenzo. I'm 14 years old. I'm from Bahia, Brazil. And I just want to first of all say Happy World's Ocean Day. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about my connections with the ocean and how this helped me to see the changes that are happening and how we, the new generations, are going to be affected by it. So I'm a person very connected to nature because of the way I grew up. Since I'm little, I'm always constantly on the environment, especially on the ocean because I'm a surfer. And when I was 2 was when I first got my first wave like alone, where my father pushed me and I stood up by myself. And since then, I'm constantly surfing, I'm constantly on the ocean. And especially when I surfing helps me develop this connection and helps it grow a lot. When I get the wave, the energy of the wave, it passes totally through me. I feel it. And me and the wave, we turn into one. We are one thing. That energy is me and I turn energy while I slide to the wave. It's a connection that it's hard to explain, but the feeling is amazing. In every moment I enter on the ocean, every moment I have contact with the ocean, I feel that energy of it, a peaceful energy, an amazing energy, and happy energy, and it's amazing. But the more I stay on the ocean, as I'm constantly on it, I realize the changes that are happening. I'm realizing the pollution, I'm realizing the algae blooms, I'm realizing that the natural animals of the biodiversity, they're lesser and lesser of that type. And animals which weren't there, exotic animals, are starting to grow and grow and grow. And the natural animals are not being able to adapt. I'm seeing coral reefs starting to die. And I'm realizing how hotter the waters are getting, hotter and hotter and hotter. And these are all happening because of human actions. And I'm very worried because they say that the consequences, for example, of climate change, which cause algae blooms, which cause sea level rising, which, for example, the hot temperatures of water to increase, they say it will get much worse in the future. And my generations are the ones who are going to be there in the future. My generation are the ones who are going to pay the consequences of the present actions in the future. And we have to understand that as much as the older generations needed the ocean and are needing it to survive right now, we, the new generation, will also have to use it the same way, or I can say in a new way. But we will have also to use it. We will also need it to live because we are totally dependent of the environment. We are totally dependent of the ocean, and we will also need it. But the way that I see the new generation using the ocean will be with keeping balance with it. We will use it with balance. The ocean and humanity will be able to live in balance. And the actions of the new generation that will start now in the present will bring this balance, will bring this peace to the ocean that we need. Because because as much like as we bring peace to the ocean, we bring peace for ourselves. As much as we bring happiness, and as much as we positively affect the ocean and the environment, we positively affect ourselves. And that's why I want to call everyone to start to take action right now, because it's the actions of the present that will affect us in the future. And it's my generation who are going to be there to see this change happening.
This next and final contribution to this segment is a short film created by Relais et Chateau specifically for this event, Sentinels of the Sea. The film follows Chef Mauro Colagreco of Mirasur, an award-winning restaurant who is on a journey to unearth the sustainability of shellfish farming in the south of France. We will learn about the role chefs and producers play in shaping the future of coastal communities.
On est en première ligne. C'est un engagement de vie. On doit s'engager. Je suis Mauro Colagreco, je suis chef du restaurant Mirasur à Menton, dans le sud de la France. On travaille avec des gens des petits pêcheurs qui font ça depuis des générations en génération.
Moi, je m'appelle Daniel Castejean. Je suis producteur de coquillages chez Camargue Coquillage à Port-Saint-Louis. Et je suis issu d'une famille déjà de pêcheurs et de producteurs de coquillages depuis plusieurs générations. Au niveau de la production, on a deux produits. On a d'un côté la moule et de l'autre côté l'huître.
Ben, les huîtres, elles sont tout le temps immergées.
Tout le temps, ils mangent.
Elles mangent, elles font que ça.
Elles sont bien là.
Elles sont bien là, elles mangent.
Aujourd'hui, il existe deux sortes d'huîtres creuses, diploïdes. Donc ça, c'est l'huître qu'on a toujours connue. L'Ifremer, qui est un laboratoire d'État, et a créé une nouvelle huître qui s'appelle l'huître triploïde. On est venu rajouter une paire de chromosomes pour la rendre stérile. On peut la consommer toute l'année. On se rend compte maintenant qu'elle n'est pas tout à fait stérile et qu'elle peut se reproduire. Le plus gros risque qu'on a, ce serait de stériliser tout un milieu. Ça, l'année prochaine, en été, elles font la taille de mon pouce.
Déjà, ça pousse vite, hein? L'intérêt de quand on va chercher un fournisseur de coquillages, aller vers la rencontre, essayer de comprendre comment ils font, qu'est-ce qu'ils font, quel type d'huîtres ils utilisent. En tant que chef, on doit tenir compte. On a impulsé cette même démarche vers nos fournisseurs et ils ont compris qu'ils doivent faire attention aux ressources. La mer, c'est comme avoir une palette extraordinaire pour un peintre d'expression. Mais peut-être qu'on peut les manger, non?
On peut les manger.
Le coquillage, il a cette capacité de se nourrir juste avec les petits planctons et matière qu'il y a dans l'eau. Il n'aurait pas de vie sans mer, sans les océans. On parle souvent que le problème, c'est dans la nourriture. Et je dis souvent, c'est la solution, il est dans la nourriture.
Les mentalités sont en train de changer. On est propre et on travaille main dans la main avec tous les acteurs de la filière.
Et on va se battre pour que tout le monde ait un amour vers la mer. On a encore le temps de repenser notre monde.
Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to everyone who have participated in this segment. Happy World Ocean Day!